Welcome to today's news wrap up. Let's dive right into the top stories making headlines today. President Trump fulfilled a long-standing promise by releasing over 1,100 previously classified documents related to President John F. Kennedy's assassination. It said 1,100. I'm thinking it was 80,000. But these records, now accessible online and at the National Archives, include revelations about Lee Harvey Oswald's surveillance by the CIA and claims of his involvement as a spy. The file also highlights allegations from a former CIA agent about the agency's role in the assassination and suspicions surrounding Lyndon B. Johnson's knowledge of the events. I did a separate video on that yesterday. Despite the release, questions remain about a key document detailing a conversation between Johnson and CIA Director John McCone, which some believe could shed light on hidden truths. Critics argue that the CIA withheld crucial information from the Warren Commission, fueling ongoing debates about the case. The Trump administration has frozen $175 million in federal funding to the University of Pennsylvania due to its inclusion of biological men in women's sports. This decision follows an investigation into potential Title IX violations initiated after an executive order banning male athletes from competing in women's sports. The controversy gained attention after swimmer Leah Thomas, a biological male, competed on the women's team and won an NCAA championship, sparking lawsuits from female athletes. Critics argue that the university prioritized financial interests over fairness and safety for women. The administration's actions aim to enforce accountability and uphold protections for women in sports. House lawmakers have introduced a bill to address China's establishment of secret police stations in the United States. I mean, I can't believe this is actually happening in our country. The legislation, led by Rep. Ashley Hinson and supported by other Republicans, aim to impose sanctions, freeze assets, and restrict visas for those involved in these operations. These stations are seen as a threat to national security, used to surveil and intimidate Chinese dissidents and U.S. residents. The bill also seeks to enhance penalties for individuals acting under China's United Front Work Department, which coordinates influence operations abroad. Critics argue that these actions undermine U.S. sovereignty and international norms. CNN has come under scrutiny for portraying Jeanette Vizguera, a criminal illegal immigrant, as a, quote, pillar of the community. Vizguera, a Mexican national, was arrested by ICE after years of evading deportation by hiding in a Denver church. She was previously convicted for Social Security fraud and had re-entered the U.S. illegally. While CNN highlighted her activism in immigrant communities, critics argue that such coverage downplays her criminal record and undermines immigration laws. The arrest sparked political debate, with Denver's mayor labeling it political persecution, while former ICE officials emphasized her long history of legal violations and disregard for due process. The situation reflects broader tensions over immigration enforcement and media representation. Jimmy Kimmel delivered a monologue targeting Elon Musk and Tesla, which some viewed as subtly endorsing recent acts of vandalism against the company. And it definitely, that's what it was. Kimmel sarcastically urged his audience not to damage Tesla vehicles, prompting criticism for appearing to trivialize the attacks. Attorney General Pam Bondi recently labeled the vandalism against Tesla as domestic terrorism, emphasizing severe legal consequences for those involved. Several perpetrators have already faced federal charges, including mandatory minimum sentences. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But critics of Kimmel's remarks argue that they encourage further hostility, while supporters see it as a humorous critique of Musk's public and political roles. There's nothing humorous about vandalism. The controversy highlights the ongoing tension surrounding Tesla and its leadership. In a recent phone call between President Trump and President Putin, a temporary ceasefire agreement was reached, focusing on halting attacks on energy and infrastructure. Y'all know I reported this already. The ceasefire aims to pave the way for broader peace talks and a complete ceasefire within weeks. However, tensions escalated as Ukrainian forces targeted an oil facility in Russia's Krasnodar region, leading to a retaliatory Russian strike. Trump's envoy emphasized the importance of these initial steps and expressed optimism about achieving long-term peace. Both leaders also discussed measures like reducing naval conflicts in the Black Sea and addressing civilian infrastructure. Efforts are underway to finalize a framework to end the conflict and improve U.S.-Russia relations. Dwarf actors are protesting Disney's live-action remake of Snow White for using CGI instead of casting actors with dwarfism. Actress Ali Chapman and her husband, Matt McCarthy, both of whom have dwarfism, criticized the decision, highlighting the limited opportunities for little people in Hollywood. The controversy began when Peter Dinklage condemned the original portrayal of dwarfs, which is ridiculous, leading Disney to replace them with quote unquote magical beings. And this is what happened when you capitulate to the woke crowd. Critics argue that Disney's approach undermines inclusion and diversity by excluding talented dwarf actors. Protest organizer Jeff Beecher emphasized the importance of equality and called for Hollywood to listen to marginalized communities. A federal judge ruled that actions taken by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency to shut down the U.S. Agency for International Development likely violated the Constitution, citing issues with the Appointments Clause and separation of powers, even though they fall under the executive branch. But the court ordered the reinstatement of USAID functions and barred Doge from further actions related to the closure. Now, this is the new story here. In response, a senior Doge official has been appointed to a leadership role at USAID, granting Doge influence over the agency, which is smart. Critics have raised concerns about unchecked executive power, while the administration defends the move as a step towards restructuring and improving efficiency within federally funded programs. The situation highlights ongoing debates over constitutional authority and government accountability. Eugene Henley Jr., known as Big U, is accused of leading a criminal enterprise tied to the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crips. Federal charges include conspiracy, drug and human trafficking, fraud, and violent crimes like murder. Prosecutors allege that Henley used his reputation and charity developing options to embezzle donations while presenting himself as an anti-gang activist. If this is true, this is just so messed up. Authorities claim he orchestrated intimidation, extortion, and other criminal activities while misrepresenting financial information to obtain pandemic relief loans. Y'all should look into the story about what he did to the NBA players and making them check in and stuff. It's crazy. Henley remains a fugitive as arrests have been made for several associates with potential sentences, including life in prison. His actions are seen as a betrayal of trust by donors and the community. Tim Walz, former Democrat vice presidential candidate, struggle talking to y'all all day. Struggle talking today, y'all. Mocked Tesla's falling stock prices, saying he checks them for a boost in mood, sparking widespread backlash. Critics, including former Trump aide Steve Cortez, called his remarks petty and unpatriotic, highlighting Tesla's role as an innovative American company. Elon Musk responded humorously, referencing a portrait of J.D. Vance in the White House. Walz's comments drew condemnation for seemingly revealing in the struggles of a U.S. business, with some accusations of him of encouraging hostility towards Tesla. Meanwhile, the Trump administration has proposed labeling vandalism against Tesla as domestic terrorism following arson and gunfire incidents targeting the company vehicle. Lastly, a North Dakota jury has ordered Greenpeace to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to Energy Transfer Partners, the company behind the Dakota Access Pipeline. The decision stems from Greenpeace's alleged misinformation campaign during protests in 2016 and 2017, which Energy Transfer argues incited illegal activities and damaged its reputation. Greenpeace has criticized the verdict as an attack on the right to peaceful protests, raising concerns about its impact on free speech and advocacy. Well, you lied about the Dakota Access Pipeline. That's not lying, is not really covered there, you know. But the ruling may lead to severe financial consequences for Greenpeace's U.S. operations as the organization plans to appeal the decision. This case underscores ongoing debates about corporate accountability, environmental activism, and the boundaries of legal protests. Well, that's all for today's news wrap up. Stay tuned for more updates. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.